So I'm Robin Jaffray, I'm the Executive Strategy Director at FCB Inferno. I entered the advertising industry really through doggedness and perseverance. I decided to try my hand at the advertising industry, and the agency that was sort of most talked about at the time was a company called Still Price, Court Twyvey de Souza. They were all over campaign every week and just seemed to be the most interesting agency in town. And I just made a nuisance of myself. I would rock up and sit in their reception and ask for 5 minutes of someone's time just to ask them questions about how they would suggest I get into the industry. And eventually they gave me an interview and then they gave me a job. So perseverance pays. I was interested in writing, actually, more than I was interested particularly in advertising per se. And I had an interest in journalism. I had a place as a student on a journalism training course and thought I could turn my hand to writing. So actually when I first approached people in advertising, it was with a view to being a copywriter, but I didn't go to art school and I didn't have a great body of work to show, so I sort of slipped into the business side of it rather than the creative side. How I would sum up my responsibilities, I think there's one sentence that answers that, and it's to, as a head of department, it's to get the best out of the people that work for me in a way that no other agency can. I think it's that simple. The most rewarding parts of my job are, well, I'm quite competitive, so obviously I love winning a pitch, and it's the closest to peer testing that we get in the industry. But it's a lot of the kind of day-to-day things that I find rewarding about it. So the creative meetings, obviously, because that's why we're in the industry, is to be close to the creative product. In terms of people, it's annoying but gratifying when people that I've hired or trained and developed get poached for brilliant jobs. I find that tremendously rewarding every time that happens. The biggest challenges in the role, and for any strategist, I think, really are staying relevant and staying ahead. I think the amount of information, the pace of change in society, the way culture changes on us so much, having a clear handle on the kind of social backdrop and the economic backdrop to everything that we do is a constant challenge, sifting through that information and making sense of it. I was talking to someone this morning about behavioural economics and just the amount of information that's flooded into that field just in the last 2 or 3 years. It's almost overwhelming. So if we're trying to put behavioural psychology at the heart of a process of an advertising agency, how do you sort of filter what's really useful to us from all of the information that's out there? So staying ahead and staying relevant. What am I proudest of? Apart from making a client cry in a pitch, in a good way.
Please tell us more.
In a good way. No, I couldn't possibly. I think awards are a great sort of temperature gauge for success and proof of how you're thinking. So obviously, being recognised in creative awards at Cannes or Effie's, for instance, are really up there. But I think the main thing for me was I'd worked once for a smaller digital agency that wasn't really very well known, but the planning department was rated the 3rd best in London in a marketing magazine client reputation survey. So we had very little influence over that piece of research, but somehow we were being recognised for the work that we were doing, and I think that's really fantastic, punching above our weight like that. What does the future hold? I think the future of strategy is going in an interesting direction, or multiple directions. I think it's getting more speciated, more specialised. I think it's potentially going more upstream, particularly within people like management consultancies. Clients are doing more of that work themselves. So I think strategists are really going to need to think about how they can affect the real business issues within a client and create the context for creative solutions as well as drive those creative solutions. And I think that's sort of quite an interesting future that I'd be interested in pursuing.
Source LF are London's leading creative communications and media recruitment agency. Be sure to like our video and subscribe to this channel. Take the moment to watch another of our videos on screen now.